March 3rd, 1876, Bath County, Kentucky. Mrs. Allen Crouch is making soap in her yard on a perfectly clear sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. Then meat starts falling, chunks of fresh red meat, falling like rain. For several minutes, it covers an area the size of a football field. Some pieces are as big as your fist. The meat looks fresh, it smells fresh, and yes, people tasted it. Two guys ate it raw. They said it tasted like mutton, or maybe venison, or possibly bear. This actually happened, the Kentucky meat shower, and we still don't really know why. You're listening to Wait, That Actually Happened, where we prove history is stranger than fiction. I'm your host, author Daniel P. Douglas, and today we're talking about the time it literally rained meat in Kentucky. I promise this is real. Okay, so picture Kentucky in 1876. This is rural America at its most rural. Bath County is farm country. Rolling hills, tobacco fields, and people who mind their own business. The Crouch family farm sits between Sharpsburg and Olympia Springs. We're talking middle of nowhere, Kentucky. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody and weird stuff doesn't happen. Mrs. Allen Crouch, sometimes called Mrs. Rebecca Crouch in different accounts, is having a normal Friday. She's out in the yard making soap. This is 1876, so you make your own soap from lye and animal fat. It's hard, smelly work. The weather's nice, clear blue sky, no wind, perfect day for outdoor chores. Now, here's something you need to know about the 1870s. This was peak weird stuff falling from the sky era. No, really. The late 1800s had tons of reports like this. Frogs, fish, stones, hay. Scientists were just starting to understand weather patterns. People were paying attention to the sky like never before because of new telegraph systems that could share weather information. But even for the 1870s, this was weird. Also important, this is just 11 years after the Civil War ended. Kentucky was a border state split between Union and Confederate sympathies. The area is still recovering. People are still suspicious of outsiders, especially anyone who might be from the government. This matters because it affects who investigates and what they're willing to say. The Crouch farm is respectable but not rich. They're exactly the kind of people who don't want attention. They're about to get a lot of it. So it's around noon on March 3rd. Mrs. Crouch is stirring her soap pot when she hears this weird sound, like slapping, like someone throwing wet towels on the ground. She looks up. Meat is falling from the sky. Not a little bit of meat, a lot of meat, chunks of it. They're hitting the ground all around her. Some pieces are tiny, like snowflakes. Others are 3 or 4 inches across. One piece is reportedly 4 inches square. The meat shower lasts about 3 to 5 minutes. Different witnesses gave different times, but everyone agrees it was several minutes of steady meat rain. It covers an area about 100 yards long and 50 yards wide, essentially the size of a football field. The ground is literally carpeted with meat chunks. They're on the fences, in the trees, on the roof of the house. Mrs. Crouch, understandably, freaks out. She calls for her husband. He comes running. By the time he gets there, the meat has stopped falling, but the evidence is everywhere. Now here's where it gets really weird and kind of gross. The meat is fresh, like just butchered fresh. It's red and bloody. It doesn't smell rotten. It looks like regular meat you'd see at a butcher shop. 2 men who were working nearby, whose names history sadly didn't record, do what any reasonable person would do. They taste it, raw. One guy says it tastes like mutton. The other says venison. Someone else who tried it later said it might be bear meat. Nobody can agree, but everyone agrees it's definitely meat. Word spreads fast in rural Kentucky. Within hours, neighbors are showing up to see the meat field. Someone has the bright idea to preserve samples. They stick pieces in alcohol. They salt some pieces. They collect chunks in jars. Harrison Gill, who lives nearby, is one of the first to show up. He'll later become the main witness who talks to newspapers. He confirms everything. Clear sky, no explanation, meat everywhere. By the next day, the story hits the local papers. The Louisville commercial runs it first, then it goes national. Within a week, the New York Times picks it up. The headline reads, "Flesh Descending in a Shower." Scientists get interested. They start analyzing the meat. But here's the thing about Victorian era science: they don't have DNA testing, they don't have the capability of modern microscopes. They're basically looking at meat and guessing. Some samples get sent to the Newark Scientific Association. They look at it under microscopes and declare it's lung tissue, probably horse lung. But wait, another scientist, Dr. J.W.S. Arnold, looks at samples and says, nope, it's cartilage, maybe from a human infant. Yeah, he really said that. Then a guy named Dr. B.F. Edwards jumps in. He says it's muscle tissue from a horse or a bear. Nobody can agree what kind of meat it is, but everyone agrees it's definitely meat and it definitely fell from the sky. So, what happened after the meat stopped falling? Well, first, the Crouch family had to deal with their farm becoming a tourist attraction. People came from all over Kentucky to see the meat field. They took samples as souvenirs. They poked around the property. They asked a million questions the Crouches couldn't answer. The meat that nobody collected, it rotted or got eaten by animals. Within a few days, most of it was gone. But the story was just getting started. Newspapers went crazy with theories. Maybe it was a sign from God. Maybe it was punishment for sin. Maybe it was the end times. One paper suggested it might be meat from a flying machine that exploded in 1876 when airplanes didn't exist. The scientific community was split. Some believed it happened exactly as described. Others thought the witnesses were confused or lying. But too many people saw it, and samples existed, so something definitely happened. The most popular scientific theory came from Dr. L. D. Castenbein, who wrote in the Louisville Medical Journal. He said vultures, a group of vultures, flew over while carrying meat in their stomachs and all vomited at the same time. Yeah, that was the scientific explanation. Synchronized vulture vomit. The problem? Nobody saw any vultures. It was a clear day. People were looking at the sky when the meat started falling. No birds. Also, vultures don't usually fly in groups large enough to drop a football field's worth of meat. And they definitely don't all vomit at the exact same time, like some kind of horrible air show. But the vulture theory stuck because it was better than "we have no idea." You know what's crazy? We still get reports of weird stuff falling from the sky: fish in Texas, frogs in Serbia, worms in Norway. It happens every few years. Modern science says it's water spouts or tornadoes. They suck up animals from one place and drop them somewhere else, which makes sense for fish near water or frogs near ponds. But the Kentucky meat shower, there were no storms that day, no wind, no water spouts, no tornadoes anywhere in the region. The weather was perfect. And here's the thing: nobody ever found where the meat came from. No butcher shop was missing meat. No slaughterhouse reported problems. No animals were found mysteriously skinned nearby. Today, if meat fell from the sky, we'd have 20 different government agencies investigating. The CDC would test for diseases. The FBI would check for terrorism. Twitter X would blame either the Democrats or Republicans, depending on which state it happened in. But we still wouldn't know for sure what happened, just like we don't know what happened in Kentucky in 1876. So picture this happening in 2025. Someone's doing a TikTok video in their backyard when meat starts falling. Oh my God, it's raining meat. This is not a drill. Within minutes, it's viral. Hashtag meat rain trending worldwide. Someone starts a live stream. Day one of camping in the meat zone until the government tells us the truth. The conspiracy theories would be instant. It's lab-grown meat from a secret facility. It's a Chinese weather weapon. Amazon is testing meat delivery drones. Someone would definitely claim it's chemtrail residue turned solid. Someone else would say it's fake meat made from bugs. QAnon would somehow connect it to pizza. The health department would declare it a biohazard, but people would still take samples home. Someone would absolutely try to sell authentic sky meat on eBay for thousands of dollars. And somewhere a scientist would go on CNN and explain it's just vulture vomit. And nobody would believe them because that sounds even crazier than meat rain. So that's the Kentucky meat shower of 1876, when it literally rained meat for several minutes and nobody knows why. The samples still exist in some museums, by the way. Little chunks of mystery meat in jars, waiting for someone to figure out what really happened. Next week, we'll discuss Emperor Norton I of San Francisco, America's only emperor who printed his own money and dissolved Congress. Yes, really. Be sure to check out my Substack, Intelligence Bulletin from author Daniel P. Douglas, for more podcast series, written articles, and links to my books. Until next time, remember, truth is stranger than fiction, and history is weirder than you think. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a memorable day.